The warning lights flashed red across every screen in the Galactic Assembly Station. Something massive was approaching Prime, and nobody knew what it was. High Arbiter has stood in the central command chamber, his four eyes fixed on the main display. Around him, representatives from 47 different species watched in growing concern. Some whispered nervously. Others stood frozen in fear. "What is that thing?" asked Commander of the Confederacy. His scaled hands gripped the edge of his console. The station's computer struggled to provide answers. The object was enormous. Sensor readings made no sense. It was moving faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Then it appeared. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel with barely a ripple. It hung in space like a metal mountain floating among the stars. The vessel was 15 kilometers long, covered in smooth gray armor that seemed to drink in the light around it. Blue energy pulsed along its length like a heartbeat. Nobody spoke, nobody moved. Scholar Fies of the Ethereal Collective floated closer to the viewing port. His energy form flickered with curiosity. "Magnificent," he whispered. "I've never seen anything like it." The ship's design was strange and beautiful. It had none of the organic curves of vessels or the sharp angles of warships. This was something completely new, something that should not exist. Has finally found his voice. "Scan it, tell me everything." The technicians worked frantically at their stations. One by one, they shook their heads. "High Arbiter, our scanners cannot penetrate the hull. We cannot determine its weapon systems. We cannot detect its power source. This is impossible," Has muttered. The massive ship slowly rotated, presenting its side to the station. Along its hull, letters appeared in glowing blue light. The station's computer translated them instantly. "TDS Eternal Dawn Earth." Earth said, "I don't know that world." "Nobody does," Has replied. "Check the database." A moment later, the answer came back. Earth was listed as a primitive world on the outer edge of the galaxy. The last survey, done 300 years ago, showed a species barely capable of. They had primitive rockets and simple satellites, nothing more. This ship was not primitive. A communication request appeared on every screen. Has hesitated, then accepted it. A human face appeared on the displays. It was Ambassador, though nobody knew her name yet. She had dark hair pulled back neatly and eyes that seemed both kind and determined. "Greetings to the Galactic Assembly," she said in perfect galactic common language. "I am Ambassador of Earth. We come in peace and request formal contact with your civilization." The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives argued and questioned. Some demanded the humans leave immediately. Others wanted to know how they had crossed such vast distances. Has raised his hand for silence. "Ambassador, your presence here is unexpected. That ship behind you, what is it?" Smiled slightly. "That is the Eternal Dawn, a Titan-class warship. Captain Minu commands her. We mean you no harm." "A warship," leaned forward. "You bring a weapon of war to a peaceful gathering." "We bring protection," corrected. "Space is dangerous. Surely you understand that." Another face appeared besides. This was Captain Minu, wearing a dark blue uniform. He had a calm, steady expression. "The Eternal Dawn will maintain position 500,000 kilometers from your station. We will not approach unless invited." Has studied the human captain. There was no aggression in his face, no threat, just patience. "How did you get here so fast?" Scholar Fies asked. "The nearest human world should be months away, even at maximum faster-than-light speed." Captain Minu glanced at someone off-screen, then back. "We have developed quantum-fold drive technology. It allows us to travel much faster than conventional drives." The chamber fell silent again. Quantum-fold drives were theoretical. Every species had tried to build them. Every species had failed. "Impossible," someone muttered. "Apparently not," said gently. Before anyone could respond, Every alarm in the station began screaming. 43 new contacts appeared on the sensors, emerging from the asteroid belt nearby. "Pirates," a technician shouted. "It's the Ravager Syndicate." The Ravagers were the most feared pirate fleet in this sector. They had destroyed dozens of ships and raided countless colonies. The Assembly's military forces had never been able to stop them. Now they were heading straight for the human ship. "Eternal Dawn, you are in danger," Hess said quickly. "Those are hostile vessels. You should retreat." Captain Menu's expression didn't change. "Thank you for the warning, High Arbiter. We'll handle this." "Handle it," stared at the display. "There are 43 of them. Your ship is alone." "We'll be fine," Menu said calmly. Then he looked at someone off-screen. "Take tactical, defensive positions only. Let's not make a bad first impression." The communication ended. Everyone in the assembly watched their screens as the pirate fleet accelerated toward the Eternal Dawn. The pirates sent a message demanding tribute and threatening destruction. The human ship did not respond. It simply waited. The pirates opened fire. Plasma torpedoes streaked through space. Kinetic projectiles followed. Energy beams lanced out. The combined firepower of 43 warships struck the Eternal Dawn simultaneously. The explosions lit up space like a new sun. When the light faded, the Eternal Dawn floated exactly where it had been. Not a single scratch marked its hull. The shields hadn't even flickered. "By the stars," Sci-Fi whispered. The pirates fired again, and again. Nothing worked. The human ship absorbed everything like it was nothing more than rain. Then the Eternal Dawn responded. A single pulse of blue energy rippled out from the ship. It wasn't a weapon. It was something else entirely. The wave washed over the pirate fleet like water. Every single pirate ship went dark. Their engines stopped. Their weapons powered down. Their lights went out. 43 vessels became 43 chunks of metal drifting helplessly in space. The assembly representatives stood in stunned silence. Small ships began launching from the Eternal Dawn. They moved to each pirate vessel, checking for survivors and preparing rescue operations. Captain Menu's face reappeared on the screens. "High Arbiter, we're recovering the pirate crews now. They'll need medical attention and probably some time in your detention facilities. We didn't harm them, just disabled their ships." Hess couldn't speak. He tried, but no words came. His face appeared beside the captain again. "We hope this demonstrates our intentions. We could have destroyed those ships. We chose not to. Humanity seeks peace, High Arbiter, but we are not defenseless." Finally Hess found his voice. How did you do that?" "We'll be happy to discuss our technology," said. "After formal diplomatic relations are established, of course." The communication ended once more, leaving the assembly in chaos. Commander turned to Haz. "High Arbiter, we need to talk about these humans, that ship, those weapons, that technology. They're more advanced than anyone in the galaxy." "I know," Hess said quietly. Sci-Fi's drifted closer. "They showed restraint, they showed mercy. That's significant." Hess nodded slowly. The humans had every reason to destroy those pirates. Instead, they had saved them. What kind of species did that? He looked at the Eternal Dawn on his screen, hanging in space like a sleeping giant. The galaxy had just changed forever, and nobody knew what would happen next. 3 hours had passed since the Eternal Dawn had disabled the pirate fleet. The Galactic Assembly was still in emergency session. Representatives argued loudly about what to do with these mysterious humans. Captain Menu sat in his command chair aboard the Eternal Dawn, watching the debate through their communication link. His second officer, Lieutenant, stood beside him. "They're scared of us," said quietly. "Of course they are," Menu replied. "We just did something they thought was impossible. Fear is natural." On the main screen, High Arbiter Haz was trying to restore order. Different species shouted over each other. Some wanted the humans to leave immediately. Others wanted to study their technology. A few wanted to form alliances. Captain called Chief Engineer from his station. I'm picking up encrypted communications between several assembly members. They're discussing military options. Minu frowned. Military options against us. It appears so, sir. A group calling itself the Dominion Pact. They see us as a threat. We saved those pirates, said, shaking her head. How does that make us a threat? Because we could have destroyed them just as easily, Minu said. That's what scares them. Ambassador's voice came through the internal communication system. Captain, the High Arbiter is requesting another meeting. They want to see more of our capabilities. More capabilities, Minu rubbed his chin. They want a demonstration. Yes, they're being polite about it, but they want to know what we can do. Minu thought for a moment. Set up a meeting for tomorrow. We'll show them something that might actually help them. The next morning, Captain Minu and Ambassador transported to the assembly station. This was the first time humans had walked among the aliens in person. The station's main hall was enormous. Hundreds of species filled the space. Some walked on legs, others floated. A few rolled on specialized platforms. Every eye turned to watch the humans enter. Minu wore his formal uniform, wore diplomatic robes. Behind them walked Science Officer, carrying a small device. They stopped in the center of the hall, has stepped forward to greet them. Welcome, Captain Minu. Ambassador, you honor us with your presence. The honor is ours, High Arbiter, replied with a bow. Scholar Fies floated closer, his energy form pulsing with excitement. Fascinating. Your biology is remarkable, carbon-based like but so different. We're happy to share biological data, said with a smile, in the spirit of scientific cooperation. Commander approached from the other side. He was 2 meters tall and covered in dark scales. His appearance was intimidating, but his voice was respectful. Captain Minu, that was impressive yesterday, the way you handled those pirates. Thank you, Commander. We prefer not to take lives if we can avoid it. Why not? Asked bluntly. They would have killed you without hesitation. Because every life has value, Minu said simply, even theirs. Studied the human captain for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Has gestured to the center of the hall. You mentioned you had something to demonstrate. Yes, said, something we hope will benefit everyone here. Stepped forward and placed the small device on the floor. She touched a few controls, and a holographic display appeared above it. This, explained, is a quantum entanglement communication node. It allows instant communication across any distance. The hall went silent. That's impossible, someone called out. Quantum entanglement has limits. You cannot send complex information that way. We thought so too, said, for a long time. Then we figured out how to stabilize the quantum state using folded spacetime matrices. She touched another control. The hologram changed, showing complex equations and diagrams. I don't understand half of these symbols, Scholar Fies admitted. We'll provide translations and explanations, assured him, but let me show you what it can do. She activated the device. A face appeared in the hologram, an elderly human woman with gray hair and kind eyes. Hello, Assembly, the woman said. I am Director speaking to you from Earth. The hall erupted in noise. Earth was 47,000 light-years away. Normal communication would take 47,000 years each way. Even the fastest quantum communication methods took months. This was happening in real time. How has demanded, how is this possible? Quantum entanglement, repeated. We have paired nodes on Earth and on the Eternal Dawn. Information transfers instantly. But the Assembly's top scientists have tried this for centuries, someone protested. It cannot be done. It can, said gently, and we're willing to share this technology once proper treaties are in place. Director smiled from the hologram. We believe this technology can unite the galaxy. Instant communication means faster cooperation, better trade, and improved diplomatic relations. The hologram faded. The device powered down. Every being in the hall stared at the small machine like it was made of magic. Has stepped closer. You would share this. Why? Because isolation makes everyone weaker, said. Connection makes everyone stronger. We learned this on Earth over thousands of years. And you want nothing in return? Asked suspiciously. We want friendship, Minyu said. We want peaceful relations. We want to learn from you and we want you to learn from us. That's all. A being from the Dominion Pact pushed forward. It was tall and thin with multiple arms. You say you want peace, but you bring a warship. You show us weapons that can disable entire fleets. Now you offer technology that would change everything. What are you really planning? Met the being's gaze calmly. We're planning to survive. Earth is far from here. We need allies. We need friends. We need to know we're not alone in the universe. Your ship suggests you don't need anyone, the being pressed. Our ship suggests we've learned to protect ourselves, Minyu corrected. There's a difference. We built the Eternal Dawn because space is dangerous, but we came here because we believe in something better than mere survival. Scholar Fies floated between them. I believe them. Their actions match their words. They saved the pirates when they could have destroyed them. They offer technology when they could hoard it. This is not the behavior of conquerors. Scholar Fies speaks wisdom, has said, but trust must be earned. Captain Minyu, would you be willing to allow a delegation to visit your ship? Minyu smiled. Of course, we'd be honored to host you. 2 hours later, a small group transported to the Eternal Dawn. Has, Scholar Fies, and several others materialized in the ship's main hangar bay. They stood in stunned silence. The hangar was vast. It could have held the entire assembly station inside it. Small fighter craft lined the walls. Transport ships rested in organized rows. Everything was clean, organized, and gleaming. This is just the hangar, whispered. One of 4, Minyu said. Would you like a tour? They walked through the ship for hours. Minyu showed them the hydroponics bays where earth plants grew under artificial sunlight. He showed them the crew quarters where humans lived in comfort. He showed them the medical bay with its advanced regenerative technology. Chief Engineer met them in the engine room. The quantum fold drive hummed with barely contained power, a sphere of twisted spacetime held perfectly stable. How much energy does this require? Scholar Fies asked. Less than you might think, said. We've learned to be efficient. Our sun provides power through miniaturized fusion cores. Each one can run for centuries. Multiple fusion cores, has asked. How many? 12 primary, 30 secondary, replied casually. Turned to Minyu. Captain, I must ask, how did your people advance so quickly? 300 years ago you were barely in space. Minyu gestured for them to follow him to an observation deck. Through the massive windows, they could see the stars. Earth is a hard world, Minyu said quietly. High gravity, violent weather, dangerous predators, diseases that tried to kill us. We survived by being smart, by working together, by never giving up. Many species face hardship, has said. True, Minyu agreed. But Earth had another quality, diversity, hundreds of different cultures, thousands of languages, millions of different ideas. When we finally united, we didn't become the same. We brought all those differences together. That's our strength. Scholar Fies pulsed brightly. Fascinating, you weaponized diversity itself. We partnered with it, corrected, joining them on the deck. Our differences make us creative. Our unity makes us strong. The tour ended back at the hangar. As the delegation prepared to transport back, Has turned to Minyu. Captain, I will recommend that the Assembly grant humanity provisional membership. You have earned that much. Thank you, High Arbiter. But I must warn you, Has continued. Not everyone in the Assembly trusts you. The Dominion Pact will oppose this. They see you as a threat. We understand, said. Trust takes time. As the delegation transported away, approached Minu. Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal. It's faint from the outer rim. Details. A colony world, under attack. They're requesting immediate assistance. Minu's face grew serious. From who? Checked her console. The Scourge, sir. Every human on the bridge went still. They had heard of the Scourge, a hive species that consumed everything in its path. Dozens of civilizations had fallen to them. How long until the Assembly's fleet can respond? Minu asked. 2 weeks, sir. And the colony? Has maybe 3 days. Minu looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, millions of beings were about to die. The Assembly couldn't help them in time. But the eternal dawn could. Set course, he said quietly. Maximum speed. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity really stands for. The eternal dawn cut through space faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Inside the command bridge, Captain Minu watched the tactical display with growing concern. Status report, he ordered. Lieutenant checked her screens. 6 hours to 4. The colony is still sending distress signals, but they're getting weaker. How many Scourge ships? Asked security chief from his station. 200 confirmed, replied. Possibly more hiding in the planet's shadow. The bridge fell silent. 200 warships. The Scourge had destroyed entire civilizations with smaller fleets. Captain, Ambassador said from behind him. The Assembly is trying to contact us. They're demanding we return to Prime. Ignore them, Minu said. We're committed now. They say we're violating protocol, that we should wait for their fleet. Their fleet won't arrive in time. Minu turned to face her. 4 million people are going to die if we don't act. I won't let that happen. Nodded. I agree. But the Dominion Pact is using this as proof that we're dangerous, that we act without consultation. They can complain after we save those colonists, Minu said firmly. Chief Engineer's voice came through the communication system. Captain, I'm pushing the quantum fold drive to maximum. We'll get there in 5 hours, but the engines will need maintenance after. Do it, Minu ordered. Every minute counts. Down in the medical bay, Doctor was preparing for casualties. She had 50 human medics working with her, setting up extra beds and checking supplies. How bad is this going to be? Asked a young medic named. Bad, replied. The Scourge doesn't take prisoners. They consume everything. We need to be ready for severe injuries, radiation poisoning, and trauma. Can we handle 4 million refugees? We'll have to, said. We're all they have. In the Marine Bay, Commander addressed his troops. 3,000 Marines stood in perfect formation, wearing powered armor. Listen up, said. We're going into a hot zone. The Scourge are vicious and they don't stop. Our mission is simple: protect the civilians and get them to the evacuation points. We're not there to be heroes. We're there to save lives. Sir, what if the Scourge engage us directly? Asked one Marine. Then we show them why they should have stayed away from human-protected space, replied. But remember, defensive positions only until ordered otherwise. We're rescuers first, fighters second. Back on the bridge, the communication console lit up with an incoming signal. It was from the Assembly. Captain Minu, this is High Arbiter Has. You must return immediately. The Scourge are beyond your capability to handle. Minu activated the response. High Arbiter, with respect, we're not turning back. Those colonists need help now, not in 2 weeks. You'll be destroyed, has insisted. 200 Scourge vessels against 1 ship, no matter how advanced, is suicide. Then you don't know humans very well yet, Minu said calmly. We'll contact you when it's over. He ended the transmission before Has could respond. Commander's face appeared on another screen. He was calling from his own ship. Captain Minu, I'm 3 days behind you. The Council approved my pursuit. We're coming to support you. Appreciated, Commander, Minyu said, but we'll be done by the time you arrive. That's what I'm afraid of, replied. Either you'll have one or you'll be dead. I'm hopping for the former. So are we, Minyu said with a slight smile. The hours passed slowly. The crew prepared for battle. Weapons were checked. Shields were tested. Fighter pilots ran simulations. Everyone knew what was coming. Science officer approached Minyu with a data pad. Captain, I've been analyzing what we know about the Scourge. They're a hive mind. They share consciousness across all their ships. What does that mean for us? Minyu asked. It means they'll adapt quickly to our tactics. But it also means if we can disrupt their communication, we might be able to confuse them. Can we do that? Maybe. The electromagnetic pulse we used on the pirates might work, but on a much larger scale. Minyu nodded. Work with on it. If we can avoid killing them, we will. Captain, they're monsters that consume entire worlds. Why show mercy? Because we're human, Minyu said simply, and that means something. Finally, the eternal dawn dropped out of quantum-fold space near 4. The scene before them was chaos. The planet was under heavy bombardment. Scourge bioships circled it like vultures. Green energy beams struck the surface, carving deep scars into the land. Cities burned. Forests turned to ash. 214 Scourge vessels confirmed, reported. They've detected us. They're turning to engage. All hands to battle stations, Minyu ordered. Communications, send a message to the colony. Tell them help has arrived. On the planet's surface, the colonists huddled in underground shelters. They had been fighting for 3 days, losing ground every hour. Their defense forces were nearly destroyed. Then the message came through. This is the Terran defense ship Eternal Dawn. We are here to help. Hold on. The colonists didn't know what humans were. They had never heard of Earth, but right now they didn't care. Someone had come, that was enough. The Scourge fleet turned as one, their ships moving with eerie coordination. They formed a wall between the Eternal Dawn and the planet. They're blocking our approach, said. Expected, Minyu replied. Begin evasive maneuvers. Get us between them and the planet. The Eternal Dawn moved forward. The Scourge opened fire. Hundreds of bioweapons launched simultaneously. Green energy beams, living missiles, acid projectiles, all converging on the human ship. The Eternal Dawn's shields flared to life. Every attack struck the barrier and vanished like water hitting a stone. Shields holding at 98%, reported the shield officer. Return fire, Minyu ordered. Disable only, I want them alive. The Eternal Dawn's weapons came online. Blue pulse beams lanced out, striking Scourge ships with surgical precision. Each hit disabled engines and weapons but left the hull intact. 10 Scourge ships went dark, then 20, then 50. But more kept coming. The Scourge were relentless. They adapted their tactics, trying to surround the human vessel. Captain, they're learning our patterns, warned. Time to show them something new, Minyu said. Launch fighters. Pilot, you have command. From the 4 hangar bays, human fighter craft streamed out like angry hornets. They were small, fast, and incredibly agile. Each one carried a single pilot and advanced AI assistance. Pilot led the first squadron personally. She had trained for years for moments like this. Her fighter danced through space, dodging Scourge weapons with ease. All squadrons spread out, she commanded. Hit and run tactics, don't let them lock onto you. The human fighters were unlike anything the Scourge had encountered. They moved in 3 dimensions simultaneously, using thrust in ways that seemed to defy physics. Within minutes, another 30 Scourge ships were disabled. On the bridge, Minyu watched the battle unfold. Is that pulse ready? Almost, Captain. Is making final adjustments. How long? 3 minutes. The Scourge were beginning to overwhelm the fighters through sheer numbers. Its console showed warnings as biomissiles got closer. "All fighters, return to defensive formation around the Dawn," she ordered. The fighters pulled back, forming a protective sphere around their mother ship. The Scourge pressed their advantage, surging forward. "Now," Minyu shouted. The Eternal Dawn released the electromagnetic pulse. It was different from the one used on the pirates. This was stronger, more focused, designed specifically to disrupt the Scourge's hive communication. The wave expanded outward in a sphere of blue light. It washed over the Scourge fleet like a tidal wave. Every Scourge ship suddenly stopped moving. Their coordinated attacks fell apart. Ships drifted aimlessly or collided with each other. The hive mind had been disrupted. "It worked!" exclaimed. "How long will it last?" Minyu asked. "Maybe 10 minutes. They'll adapt and reconnect." "Then we work fast. Deploy your Marines to the surface. Begin evacuations immediately." "Yes, sir." Launched from the Eternal Dawn, carrying Marines and medical personnel. They descended through the atmosphere while the Scourge fleet remained confused above. Commander's boots hit the ground first. Around him, his Marines spread out in defensive positions. The landscape was devastated. Buildings collapsed. Bodies lay in the streets. "Medics forward," ordered. "Find survivors." Doctor and her team rushed into the nearest shelter. Inside, they found hundreds of colonists. They were humanoid with blue skin and large eyes. Many were injured. "We're here to help," said gently. "We're going to get you out of here." The colonists stared at her in disbelief. One elderly touched his face carefully. "Are you real, or have we died and gone to the after realm?" "We're real," assured her, "and you're going to live, I promise." The evacuation began. Marines carried the wounded. Medical teams stabilized critical patients. Transport ships colonists to the Eternal Dawn as fast as they could. Above, the Scourge were beginning to recover. Their hive mind reconnected slowly, ship by ship. "Captain, they're regaining coordination," warned. "How many colonists evacuated?" Minyu asked. 1 million so far, 3 million still on the surface. Minyu clenched his fist. Not fast enough. They needed more time. "Prepare another pulse," he ordered. "Captain, the system needs to recharge," protested. "If we fire again too soon, we could damage the ship." "How long to recharge?" 30 minutes minimum." "We don't have 30 minutes." Minyu stood from his chair. "All weapons, maximum suppression fire. Keep them confused as long as possible. Your fighters are our shield. Don't let anything get through to the planet." "Understood, Captain," replied. The battle resumed with renewed intensity. The Eternal Dawn's weapons fired constantly, disabling Scourge ships faster than they could regroup. Human fighters weaved impossible patterns through space, drawing fire away from the evacuation. On the surface, the work continued. 2 million evacuated, then 2.5 million, then 3 million. "Captain," called out, "long-range sensors are detecting something. More Scourge ships, a lot more." "How many?" 300, maybe 400. They're coming from deep space." Minyu's jaw tightened. They couldn't fight that many, not while protecting the planet. "Time to last colonist evacuation?" he asked. 15 minutes at current rate. "And time until reinforcements arrive?" 12 minutes. They were going to overlap. The new Scourge fleet would arrive before the evacuation was complete. Minyu looked at the tactical display, at the planet below, at the thousands of humans working frantically to save millions of aliens they'd never met before. He made his decision. "All ships continue evacuation. I don't care if we have to take every single hit. We're not leaving anyone behind." The crew responded without hesitation. "Yes, sir." The new Scourge fleet appeared on the edge of the system. 412 ships, a force that had destroyed countless worlds. And they were headed straight for the Eternal Dawn. The 400 Scourge ships moved through space like a swarm of locusts. They had come to finish what their forward fleet had started. They had come to consume four and everyone on it. Captain Menu stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, watching the tactical display. His ship was already fighting 200 Scourge vessels. Now 400 more were approaching fast. "Status of evacuation?" he asked calmly. 3.2 million evacuated, Lieutenant replied. 800,000 still on the surface. Time until they're all aboard. 12 minutes, sir. And time until the new Scourge fleet arrives. 10 minutes. The numbers were clear. The reinforcements would arrive before the evacuation was complete. Menu had to decide: protect his ship and crew or hold position and save the colonists. For him, there was no decision at all. "All hands, this is the captain," he said over the ship-wide communication. "The Scourge reinforcements will reach us before evacuation is complete. We're staying. We're finishing the job. That's what humans do." Across the ship, 3,000 crew members heard his words. Not one of them questioned the order. Not one of them asked to retreat. "Shields to maximum," Menu ordered. "Coordinate with. I want every fighter covering the evacuation routes." "Yes, sir." In the fighter bay, Pilot checked her fuel levels. Her squadron had been fighting for over an hour. They were exhausted, but they weren't done yet. "All pilots, new contacts incoming," she said over the radio. "We've got 800,000 people counting on us. We don't fail, understood?" "Understood," came the unified response. The fighters launched again, forming a protective screen around the ferrying colonists from the surface. On 4, Commander and his Marines were working at their absolute limit. They had been carrying wounded, clearing rubble, and finding survivors for hours without rest. "Sir, we've got a problem," one Marine reported. "There's a shelter in the eastern sector, collapsed entrance, at least 5,000 people trapped inside." "Time to dig them out?" asked. 20 minutes with our equipment." "We don't have 20 minutes, activated his suit's powered servos. "Then we dig faster, everyone on me. Move." 60 Marines converged on the collapsed shelter. They tore through concrete and steel with their bare hands, their armor enhancing their strength. Every second counted. Inside the shelter, the colonists heard the sounds of digging above them. They had given up hope hours ago. Now hope returned. "Hang on," a voice called down and heavily accented. "We're coming for you." In the medical bay, Doctor had treated over 10,000 patients. Her hands moved automatically now, guided by training and determination. Young worked beside her, no longer asking questions, just doing what needed to be done. "Doctor, we're running out of space," a nurse reported. "Use the cargo bays," ordered. "Use the hallways, use anywhere, we fit everyone." The original 200 Scourge ships were still engaged with the Eternal Dawn, but even confused and damaged, they kept attacking. Green energy beams hammered the shields constantly. "Shields at 70%, reported the shield officer. "Divert power from non-essential systems," Menu ordered. "I want those shields at maximum." Chief Engineer's voice came through. "Captain, I'm pulling power from everything I can, but we can't maintain this level of output indefinitely." "Just a few more minutes." "You said that 30 minutes ago, sir." "And I was right then too," Menu replied with a tight smile. The new Scourge fleet entered weapons range. They opened fire immediately. This wasn't a test or a probe. This was a full assault meant to destroy. The Eternal Dawn shuddered as hundreds of weapons struck simultaneously. The shields flared bright blue, struggling to absorb the massive amount of energy. "Shields at 50%, the officer called out. "Return fire," Menu ordered. "Target the leaders of their formation. Break their coordination." The Eternal Dawn's main cannons fired. Each shot was precise, calculated, powerful. Scourge ships exploded under the assault, But for every ship destroyed, two more took its place. Pilot's fighter dodged through a cloud of biomissiles. Her AI co-pilot tracked 30 simultaneous threats, helping her weave between them. This is to all squadrons. They're trying to break through to the form up on my position. The human fighters regrouped, creating a wall of metal and determination between the Scourge and the evacuation routes. They fired constantly, their weapons glowing hot from overuse. One fighter took a direct hit. The pilot ejected safely, but his ship was destroyed. Another fighter's wing was clipped, sending it spinning. The pilot regained control and kept fighting. "We're losing fighters," reported to the bridge. "All damaged fighters return to the Dawn," Minyu ordered. "We'll rotate fresh squadrons." "Sir, we don't have fresh squadrons. Everyone's already out here." Minyu closed his eyes for a moment. His people were giving everything. It still might not be enough. "Shields at 30%, the officer reported. Another massive barrage had struck home. On the surface, Marines finally broke through to the trapped colonists. 5,000 poured out of the shelter, crying with relief. "Move, move, move," shouted. "Transport ships are landing now, everyone on board." But there were too many people and not enough ships. The colonists crowded together, pushing to get aboard. "Calm," ordered. "We take everyone, there's room, stay calm." His Marines formed lines organizing the evacuation. Children first, then elderly, then everyone else. It took precious minutes. "Sir, all transports are loaded," a Marine reported. "But we're at 3 times capacity." "I don't care, take off, fly carefully." The overloaded transport ships lifted off, straining against the extra weight. They climbed slowly toward the eternal dawn. Above, the battle was reaching its peak. The eternal dawn was now fighting 600 Scourge ships at once. The shields were failing. 20%, the shield officer called out. "Evacuate the forward sections," Minyu ordered. "All non-essential personnel to interior compartments." "Captain, we need to retreat," said urgently. "If the shields fail completely." "We're not leaving," Minyu said firmly. "How many colonists left?" 200,000. "Then we stay." Ambassador, who had been silent on the bridge, stepped forward. "Captain, the Dominion Pact is watching this. Half the galaxy is watching this. What we do right now will define how they see humanity forever." "I know," Minyu said. "That's why we're staying." The shields dropped to 10%. Scourge weapons started penetrating through, striking the hull directly. Damage alarms rang throughout the ship. "Hull breach on Deck 17, a damage control officer reported. "Sealing emergency bulkheads." Science officer worked frantically at her console. "Captain, the electromagnetic pulse is recharged, but if I fire it now, it might overload our systems." "What are the chances?" Minyu asked. 50-50. "And if we don't fire it?" "The shields will fail in 3 minutes." Minyu looked at the tactical display. The last were ascending from the surface. They were so close. "Fire the pulse," he ordered. "Sir." "Fire it, that's an order." His hands moved across her console. The eternal dawn gathered energy from its very core. The ship glowed with blue light. Then it released everything at once. The electromagnetic pulse exploded outward like a star going supernova. It washed over every Scourge ship in range. 600 vessels suddenly went dark, their hive connection severed completely. But the pulse had cost the eternal dawn dearly. Half the ship systems went offline. The shields collapsed entirely. Life support flickered. The lights dimmed. "Status," Minyu shouted. "Systems are coming back online slowly," reported. "But we're defenseless for at least 5 minutes. Last. Docking now, sir. All colonists aboard." "Helm, get us out of here. Maximum speed." The Eternal Dawn's engines roared to life. The massive ship turned and accelerated away from 4. Behind them, the Scourge fleet began to recover. But they weren't pursuing. Captain, the Scourge ships are just floating there, said in confusion. Why aren't they following? Minyu asked. Checked her readings. I'm detecting a communication signal from one of their command ships. They're trying to contact us. The Scourge don't communicate, Minyu said. They just attack. Apparently they do now, replied. Should I answer? Minyu hesitated, then he nodded. Put them through. The main screen flickered. An image appeared. It was grotesque, a mixture of organic tissue and mechanical parts, but the eyes were intelligent. Human vessel, the Scourge consciousness spoke in a voice like grinding metal. You have done something no species has ever done. You have threatened us. We don't want to threaten you, Minyu said. We want you to leave these people alone. We consume, that is our purpose, that is our nature. Then your nature needs to change, Minyu replied firmly. Because if you continue attacking innocent worlds, you'll find humanity standing in your way every single time. The Scourge consciousness seemed to consider this. We have encountered thousands of species, all either fled or were destroyed. You did neither, you stood, you fought. You saved those who could not save themselves. Why? Because it was the right thing to do, Minyu said simply. The right thing, the Scourge repeated. We do not understand this concept. Maybe you should learn. There was a long silence. Then the Scourge spoke again. We will withdraw from this system. We will not attack this world again, but we will remember you humans. We will watch you. We will learn. Then learn this, Minyu said. The galaxy doesn't have to be about conquerors and victims. There's another way, partnership, cooperation, peace. The Scourge consciousness didn't respond. The communication ended. One by one, the Scourge ships turned and jumped to faster-than-light speed. Within minutes, they were all gone. The bridge of the eternal dawn erupted in cheers. Crew members hugged each other. Some cried with relief. Minyu sagged in his chair. They had done it. They had saved 4 million lives. Captain said softly, we're receiving messages from across the galaxy. Everyone was watching. They all saw what we did. Minyu nodded tiredly. What are they saying? Most are calling us heroes. The Dominion Pact is calling us reckless. But everyone agrees on one thing. Humanity is not to be underestimated. Commander's face appeared on the communication screen. His ship had finally arrived, but the battle was over. Captain Minyu said quietly, I have never seen anything like what you just did. You faced impossible odds. You refused to abandon those colonists. You risked everything. He paused. The Confederacy formally requests a military alliance with Earth. Thank you, Commander, Minyu replied. We'll discuss terms. More messages flooded in. Species from across the galaxy wanted to meet humanity, wanted to form alliances, wanted to learn from them. Down in the cargo holds, the colonists looked around in wonder. They were alive. Against all odds, they had survived. An elderly approached Doctor. Why did you come? Why did you risk your lives for us? We are strangers to you. Smiled tiredly. Because we're all sharing this galaxy together. Your lives matter as much as ours. That's what being human means. The elderly touched his hand gently. Then I am honored to know humans. We will never forget what you did for us. On the bridge, Ambassador received a message from High Arbiter Has. Captain Minyu, Ambassador Has said. His voice was different now, respectful. The Galactic Assembly is convening an emergency session. We wish to formally invite humanity to join us as a full member, not provisional, full membership. Minyu and looked at each other. We accept, said, with gratitude and humility. Has nodded. You have earned it. What you did today changed everything. The galaxy will never be the same. The communication ended. Minyu looked out at the stars, at the planet they had saved, at the endless possibilities ahead. They had come seeking peaceful contact. They had found a galaxy that needed them. And humanity had answered the call. 1 week had passed since the Battle of 4. The eternal dawn floated peacefully near the Galactic Assembly Station, no longer a mysterious threat, but a symbol of hope. Inside the Grand Assembly Hall, representatives from all 47 member species gathered for the most important vote in galactic history. At the center stood Ambassador, wearing formal diplomatic robes of deep blue and silver. High Arbiter has addressed the Assembly. We gather today to welcome a new species to our community. Humanity has proven itself through courage, wisdom, and selfless action. They risked everything to save a world they had never seen. They showed mercy to enemies who showed them none. They offer us technology that will change our civilization forever. He turned to face. Ambassador, on behalf of the Galactic Assembly, we formally invite Earth and all human worlds to join us as full members with all rights and responsibilities. The hall erupted in applause. Even the Dominion-packed representatives joined in, though some looked uncomfortable. Bow deeply. The people of Earth accept this honor with gratitude and humility. We come not as conquerors or saviors, but as partners. We bring our knowledge, our strength, and our friendship. In return, we ask only for the same. Scholar Fies floated forward, his energy form pulsing with joy. This is a historic moment. For the first time in 3,000 years, a new species joins us as equals. I move that we begin formal technology sharing immediately. Seconded, Commander said from his position. The massive warrior had become humanity's strongest supporter. The vote was called. One by one, each species cast their vote. When the count was finished, the result was unanimous. It is done, has announced. Humanity is now a full member of the Galactic Assembly. May this mark the beginning of a new era of cooperation and prosperity. On the Eternal Dawn, Captain Minu watched the ceremony through a video feed. Beside him stood Chief Engineer, Lieutenant, and the rest of his senior staff. "We did it," said quietly. "We actually did it." "No," Minu corrected. "They did it." He gestured to the crew around him. "Every person on this ship, every Marine who fought on 4, every medic who saved lives, every engineer who kept us flying. This belongs to all of them." Smiled, "Captain, I'm receiving requests from 17 different species. They all want to learn about our technology. Where do I even start?" "Start with the ones who need it most," Minu replied. "The worlds, the ones struggling with basic problems, we help them first." "That's not how technology transfer usually works, sir. Most species would trade with the richest worlds first." "We're not most species," Minu said. "We're human, we do things differently." In the medical bay, Doctor was giving a tour to a group of alien physicians. They had come to learn about human medical technology, particularly the regenerative treatments. "How does this work?" asked the doctor, examining a healing chamber. "It uses nanobots to repair tissue at the cellular level," explained. "We can heal injuries that would normally take months in just days. We can cure diseases that other species consider terminal." "And you'll share this?" another doctor asked in disbelief. "Of course," said. "Disease doesn't care about species or politics. Everyone deserves access to the best medical care." The doctor's eyes filled with tears. "My people have a plague affecting thousands. We've tried everything. If your technology could help." "We'll help," promised. "That's why we're here." Down in the engineering section was conducting his own tour. A dozen alien engineers crowded around the quantum fold drive, taking notes frantically. "I don't understand," one engineer said. "The folded spacetime matrix should collapse under this much stress." "It would," agreed, "unless you stabilize it with quantum-locked particles here and here." He pointed to specific components. "We spent 50 years figuring that out." "And you're just telling us?" another engineer asked. "Why wouldn't I?" replied. "Knowledge shared is knowledge. If you improve on our design, share it back. That's how everyone benefits." The engineers looked at each other in amazement. In their cultures, such knowledge would be hoarded, sold for massive profit, or kept as military secrets. Humans really were different. In the Assembly Council chambers, Ambassador met privately with High Arbiter Has. The large alien looked tired but content. "I must apologize," Has said. "When you first arrived, I saw you as a threat. I thought your power would disrupt the balance we've maintained for centuries." "You were right," said. "We will disrupt the balance, but sometimes balance needs disrupting." "What do you mean?" "The galaxy has been stagnant," explained gently. "Technology advances slowly. Conflicts are managed but never solved. Species trade but rarely truly cooperate. You've achieved peace through careful balance, but it's a fragile peace. And humanity will change that. We'll try, by sharing everything freely, by defending the weak without demanding payment, by showing that there's another way to exist in the galaxy." Has was quiet for a moment. "Some species will resist this change. The Dominion Pact already sees you as dangerous. Others will try to exploit your generosity." "We know," said, "but we believe in what we're doing. Humanity survived because we learned to work together. Now we want to share that lesson." "You're idealists," Has observed. "We're humans," replied with a smile. "Sometimes that's the same thing." 3 days later, the first technology transfer began. Human engineers traveled to 12 different worlds, teaching them about quantum communication, medical technology, and efficient energy systems. Science officer led the team going to a poor mining world called. The people there lived in harsh conditions, struggling to survive. "Why come here first?" the leader asked. "We have nothing to offer in trade." "You don't need to offer anything," said. "You need help, that's enough." Within a week, the first quantum communication nodes were operational on. For the first time, the miners could communicate instantly with other worlds. They could call for help in emergencies. They could trade fairly without delays. The leader cried when the first message came through. "You've given us a future. How can we repay this?" "Pay it forward," said. "When you can help someone else who needs it, that's all we ask." Back at the assembly station, Commander proposed something unprecedented: a joint military force. "The Terran Defense Initiative," he announced to the Council. "A combined fleet from multiple species, trained by humans, equipped with the best technology available, not to conquer but to protect." Many species immediately volunteered, though of course, they're grateful for their salvation. Even some Dominion Pact members joined, though reluctantly. Captain Menu was asked to lead the initiative. He accepted on one condition: we fight only to defend, never to invade, never to conquer. If anyone joins this force with other intentions, they're out. The first recruit training began on the Eternal Dawn. Marine Commander had volunteers from 30 different species, all learning to work together. "We come from different worlds," told them. "We breathe different air. We speak different languages. But here you're all the same, you're protectors, you're peacekeepers. You represent the best of what this galaxy can be." The training was intense. Humans pushed the recruits harder than they'd ever been pushed, but they also supported them, helped them, taught them. A young soldier struggled with the physical requirements. His human training partner, a Marine named, stayed late every night to help him improve. "Why help me?" they asked. "We're competing for positions." "No," said. "We're training to protect people together. Your success is my success. That's the human way." They worked harder. He passed his qualifications. He became lifelong friends. Months passed. The galaxy began to change in ways nobody had predicted. Quantum communication networks spread across dozens of worlds. Medical technology saved millions of lives. Energy systems became more efficient. Food production increased. Living standards improved. But more importantly, species started truly cooperating. They shared information freely. They helped each other without demanding payment. They learned from the human example. Scholar Fies published a paper about humanity's impact. It became the most read document in galactic history. Humans survived on a death world, he wrote. High gravity forced them to become strong. Dangerous predators forced them to become clever. Harsh climates forced them to adapt. But what made them truly special was this. They learned that cooperation was the ultimate survival strategy. They learned that protecting the weak made the whole group stronger. They learned that knowledge shared was power. Now they're teaching us those same lessons. The Dominion Pact gradually fell apart. Some members joined humanity's initiatives. Others isolated themselves. But their power to influence the galaxy faded. 1 year after first contact, the Eternal Dawn was no longer alone. 3 more Titan-class ships had been completed: the Horizon's Promise, the Unity's Shield, and the Tomorrow's Hope. Captain Minu was promoted to Fleet Admiral. He now commanded all 4 ships and the growing Terran Defense Initiative fleet. The ceremony was held on Earth, at the new Galactic Embassy in Geneva. Representatives from every assembly species attended. Many had never visited Earth before. They were shocked by what they found. Earth was beautiful but harsh. Higher gravity than most worlds, extreme weather, dangerous wildlife. No wonder humans were so resilient. But they also saw the cities, the forests, the oceans. They saw humans living in harmony with their world despite its challenges. They saw the diversity of cultures, languages, and ideas. "This world made you strong," has said to Admiral Minu during the ceremony, "but it also made you compassionate." How? Minu looked out at the Earth landscape. Because survival required cooperation. Our ancestors had to work together or die. Eventually, we learned that lesson so well that it became part of who we are. We're strong because we had to be. We're kind because we chose to be. During the ceremony, an emergency signal arrived. A distress call from 3 unknown species at the edge of explored space. They had heard stories about humanity. They were asking for help. Admiral Minu read the message, then looked at his officers, and all the others who had been with him from the start. "Well," he asked, "what do you think?" "We answer," Ambassador said without hesitation. "We help," Chief Engineer agreed. "That's what we do," Lieutenant added. The others nodded in agreement. Minu smiled. "Then let's go meet our new friends, plot a course for all 4 Titan-class ships, maximum speed." The Eternal Dawn, Horizon's Promise, Unity's Shield, and Tomorrow's Hope lifted off from Earth together. Behind them, a fleet of ships from dozens of species followed. The Terran Defense Initiative was deploying. As they jumped to quantum-fold speed, Admiral Minu stood on his bridge, looking at the stars streaking past. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy. They had proven themselves through strength and mercy. They had shared their knowledge freely. They had defended the helpless without asking for reward. The galaxy had watched in awe. Now they were learning to follow humanity's example. It wasn't perfect. There would still be conflicts, still be challenges, still be species who resisted change. But the direction was clear. The galaxy was becoming something better. And it had all started with a single ship making first contact. "Admiral," Communication Officer said, "we're receiving first contact protocols from the 3 unknown species. They're nervous but hopeful." "Send this message," Minu ordered. "Tell them we come in peace. Tell them we come to help. Tell them they're not alone anymore." The message was sent across the stars. Far away, 3 species received it. They had lived in isolation for centuries, afraid of the dangers in space. Now they heard a new voice, a voice promising friendship, protection, and partnership. The humans had come. The galaxy would never be the same again. And somewhere on Earth, in a small park in Geneva, the colonists from 4 had planted a memorial. It was a simple stone with words carved in both human and languages. On this day, humanity taught the galaxy what it means to be truly civilized. They showed us that strength without compassion is meaningless, That power without mercy is empty. That knowledge without sharing is worthless. They saved us not because they had to, but because they could, because it was right. May we all strive to live by their example. Below those words was a single sentence in human language. This is what being human means. And across the galaxy, billions of beings from hundreds of species were learning exactly what that meant. They were learning hope. They were learning cooperation. They were learning that the universe didn't have to be dark and dangerous. It could be something more. It could be home. And humanity had shown them the way.